Let's fucking.
Bow. What's behind the hat?
We are definitely, without a doubt, going to introduce the Hang and Hunt podcast
We're in fact going to do it right now.
right now.
Do you want to? You have the ball?
I have the ball. Hey guys, welcome back. The Hang and Hunt podcast. Billy and Taylor, fresh off of a debaucherous weekend at the ATA show.
I was going to get a soundboard. I have a soundboard for us to use so we can play little clippies, but I didn't set it up because, to your point, we are off a debaucherous weekend at the ATA show, and I'm pretty sure I have COVID.
Oh, thanks. Cough my way. Are we 6 feet away?
Never. It's more of just an incredibly sore throat and a feeling that I'm breathing through a cocktail straw, which I'm very familiar with. So I know you are as well. So that's a very good analogy. And also, oh, my flashlight's on. Just lighten up my life. And it's the mucus that I'm coughing up, which is not good. I used to smoke cigarettes for a long time. Now it was a long time ago, but in our frat house, we had what we referred to as lung butter, which after a night of cocktails and rip like a pack and a half of smokes, you would cough up lung butter, which is no doubt your lungs trying to heal themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen lung butter in a long time. This morning I saw lung butter. So
I was with you all weekend and you did not smoke a cigarette.
yeah, I don't smoke cigarettes. I'm just saying that it's my lungs, I think, have the China virus. So, and now I just shout out to Apple and Spotify because they probably just shadow banned this podcast. We talked about
if you try to click and download, you're going to get the COVID-19 vaccination report
exactly
thing down at the bottom. Check out what the CDC.
Are
has
you
to
sure
say.
that you want to share this information?
Well, you may not be able to listen to this. You may be able to get it from us.
Yes, yes. I actually have some notes. I'm gonna grab them real quick.
Oh boy, hit pause. Pose.
No, just let it ride.
Well,
take it.
While Taylor's finding his notes, this weekend was a blast. I mean, as the ATA is every single year, except for last year it was virtual. Surprisingly, a lot of the big vendors pulled out, which we're not familiar with.
Something we know nothing about.
Absolutely not. But a lot of the big vendors pulled out. We still went in and had just a blast with our friends and saw some really, really cool stuff. And I mean, I know you guys have been following that stuff on social media and you've seen, obviously we have to plug Tethered's platform. That new carbon platform is fire.
Sick.
It's nasty, dude.
Yeah.
And it weighs nothing.
It was the toughest secret I've ever kept in my life. Well, other than one other one, but I can't tell my wife that. She'd divorce me. I like it, the dudes. Definitely wrote these. I feel like Bert Kreischer. It's all like hieroglyphics. Star circle, hashtag square.
Do you actually speak Russian? No.
Yeah. If anybody hasn't seen the Machine skit, just delete
Please.
this and watch that. It's way better than what we're about to talk about. Yeah, the ATA show is great. For us, like we used to go to the ATA show and be able to
What's up, Wyatt?
just hang out with people.
What up, Shawty?
Wyatt
How you doing,
cameo.
boy? All right, buddy.
Hey, Wyatt. Wyatt sees me deal with Emily like that.
and she sees her push you away.
Bro. Yeah. Hey, okay.
He's like, are we going to chase birds? What's up?
When we first started going to the ATA show, it was just strictly to see product and hang out with our friends and people that we met in the industry. And that's how we got started in the hunting industry. And that's how, I met Ernie and Greg and other guys from Tether. I mean, we met primarily on Saddle Hunter, but the first time I ever met them in person was at the ATA show.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. In a bar. No. To go from just attending as like just passionate archery dudes to now like being at the Tethered booth and working for Tethered and like all this stuff, it's kind of cool.
No, it's awesome. And the inside insight that we get prior to the show is pretty cool because, like you said, we have to keep secrets and things. But when stuff comes out, we're right in the mix of people are asking questions like, "How much is it going to cost?" That's like the first question you get is, "How much is it?"
We never know. I A lot of the stuff we get is compensated. I don't know if people know that. I have never felt worse in my life than when somebody is like, "What's that retail for?" And I'm like, I
have absolutely no idea.
don't know. Yeah. You made a joke of me the other day. We were sitting down here having a beer, and you were like, "Dude, you have like a car's worth of archery products on your desk right now."
Right now, we counted it up, and yeah,
Yeah, it was like definitely ATV worthy. So if anybody
Just
needs
in-
a bow sight, let
just
me know.
in both
'Cause
sides.
that's actually one of my hieroglyphically written things down here. Is since I think our last podcast, and by the way, we apologize, guys. It's been a while since our last podcast. I think I've changed my setup about 19 times.
100%, dude. 100%. I mean, you've gone electronic to pins and sliders, back to electronic. I mean, you've gone 3 different brands. I mean, you multiply that out, it's probably been, no shit, probably 10 times.
Yeah, it's bad.
It's terrible. What you got on top of the list there, buddy?
Hunt recaps. The last time that we talked to people, I think was after the sick deer hunt.
I think so. Oh my gosh.
So
There's been some blood in the back of my truck since then.
a couple. It's about to be my dog. Yeah. So I mean, we had some fun travel hunts. So I went to, let's see, that was October. End of October, I went to Oklahoma.
Yeah, right after the next week you were in Oklahoma.
Absolute blast. Smashed a hammer.
Mm-hmm.
We can get into that. From there, I literally drove the next day to Kansas, hunted Kansas, which was sweet.
Yeah, and you killed a buck, what, like the first day or second day?
First day in Oklahoma.
Okay.
Did not kill the first time I went to Kansas.
Oh, that's
I
right.
hunted for like 4 days, and that was kind of bittersweet because I was worried that I was going to kill one because I did not have my camera gear. Because I met up with a camera guy in Oklahoma, filmed, and then he was going to come with me to Kansas, but then he had to roll out, and so that was no bueno. So I was like, and I was on a giant. There was a like
He was a booner.
180-inch slammer, and I'm sitting there like, I don't want to kill this deer. I want to kill this deer, but I do not want to kill this deer not on
film.
camera. Like I want to share this with people. Like what we like to do is being able to share it.
And
with
for a
people.
couple days, he was within 100 yards bedded with a doe.
Absolutely.
Man, that's brutal.
Daylighting on camera. I mean,
I'm surprised you didn't use your stealthy skills to slide up on him and then stalk him and shoot him.
the outfitter knows me very well.
He said, "Don't get out of this stand."
Old Ben at Big Kansas Outdoors, he put me in a spot that was right next to the train tracks, like literally spitting distance from the train tracks. When the train came through, I felt the wind from the train. So only in that location am I able to get in stealthily. We knew the train
only
times.
as the train's coming,
Yep,
right?
as soon as it's coming through, I was able to literally just
Hustle.
walk freely. Yes, hustle at a snail's pace. Yeah, I mean that was awesome. Oklahoma was great. Hunted with the Roys. Going to try to get you back there next year,
man.
And bring your dad. That's one of the coolest places I've ever hunted. Very unique. And it's funny, both like between Oklahoma and Kansas. It's funny because we started saddle hunting forever ago, like 2008, 2009, and saddle hunting has been just such a dramatic advantage, like in my life, right? Where like prior to that, when I had a climber, I'd walk into a spot. And I vividly remember looking around with a headlamp and being like, can't hunt that tree, can't hunt that tree, can't hunt that tree. And by the time you find a tree that worked, I'm like 50 yards off the X. And anybody who's ever even thought about bow hunting knows like 5 yards is make or break, right?
They matter.
50 yards ruins a hunt.
And the trees out in Oklahoma and Kansas weren't necessarily good for climbing.
So
right?
it's the first time in my life that I've been in a spot and I'm like, so now with a saddle, you go into a spot and you're like, I can hunt any freaking tree I want. And like, I'm a big old fat guy who's like super uncoordinated. And if I can hunt any tree I want, like there are tree ninjas out there that can do anything. And I got in Kansas and I'm like, I can't hunt that tree. I can't hunt that tree. There's like cottonwoods. And And could you hunt them? Absolutely. Like if you took the time and you had prepped them preseason, they
Corona.
my daughter said, "Daddy, cough into your chicken wing or we're all gonna get sick." I said, "We're all already sick, babe. We all got it. Your sickness is here. I gave it to you. You're welcome."
At least it's diluted because I married mommy.
Yeah. No, she's just as bipolar. It's bad. Sorry. So yeah, I mean, definitely need to go back there and like prep some spots and trees. The tree that I shot my buck out of was hairy.
It was itty bitty.
It was smaller than this microphone.
That's like 8 inches around. You should be able to get in that.
It's at least 15. My wife would make a terrible general contractor. She's been conditioned that that's 15 inches her entire life. But yeah, so that was a blast. And then from there, our buddy Mark Petty just called. What's up, Mark?
What up, Shawty?
So from Kansas, where did we go from there? Oh, Ohio with the Tethered Crew. That was fun. That was a hunt giveaway. I think that's it. And it's mostly hunting around here. So it's good to be back with everybody.
Yeah, after, well, right around Halloween when that hit, it was after the Sitka hunt with Tethered. Halloween hit, and I came down with the vid, like pretty hard, and I was out.
Perfect time for your rutcation.
Yeah, but then I was like, oh, sweet. I'm gonna be isolating in deer camp by myself, and I'll just hunt every day. No, that didn't happen. It actually put me down. I only hunted like 3 or 4 times, and I was coughing on stand. It was kind of miserable, but I basically missed the bulk of the rut this year by being down for it. And then as soon as I got back home, my kids tested positive.
That's the worst. You
sucked.
left home
hmm
to quarantine,
Yeah,
so
to
that
stay
they
away
didn't
from
get
them,
sick,
and they didn't get it.
and you came home and they were all sick.
Yeah, they my oldest daughter actually got it from her best friend at school the day before I came home. When I came home, boom, tested positive. So it was like another 10-day quarantine.
I kept waiting for the ATA show to get canceled.
I can't believe it didn't.
I'm blown away that it happened. It should not, for all intents and purposes, should not have happened.
Probably
Like there are, statistically speaking, there are people that went to the show that will be dead in the next 15 to 25 days.
There's a good possibility. I hope not. Knock on wood, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm a spitting image of hell, so it should be fine. But yeah, I mean, like, what? I don't know why they had it. I mean, it's great seeing everybody. I love doing that. And it's not like we shied away from spitting at each other's mouths at the bar all night long. But I mean, it's going to be bad.
Yeah, I wonder.
A handful of the people that we were with at the show are testing positive.
Mhm.
My roommate at the show. Well, you were my roommate one night. We'll get into that.
That's on our OnlyFans account.
yeah, you got to pay for that information. Yeah, but like, Bo just tested positive. I mean, that sucks, man.
Yeah, and I don't know who else is going to test positive, but there's probably a handful of them. But
I'm used to test results coming back positive.
Syphilis, gonorrhea,
all of the herpes.
Yeah, and once we got together with all of our friends, it's hard not to say, "You guys going to PBR bar?" Because that's where we're going to be. And once you get there, it's game on.
Yes. So, let's just get into that. I mean, ATA show. What for you guys out there that haven't been to the ATA show? I'm sure that you see the videos of new product, people talking about stuff, but what you don't get to see or experience outside of like people's social profiles are like all of the activities and interactions that go on. It's so funny to me. Like you go out to a nice steakhouse and you look around and it's like everybody in the industry was in that steakhouse, that Brazilian steakhouse the first night.
I rolled in there and my
you
flight.
missed your flight. Yeah.
Well, no, it got canceled. Yeah. So, but then luckily I was able to get down. I sat down at a table with all Tethered.
Andrew Blair was on his 9th plate of food by the time we sat down, and that was like when the reservation was scheduled for.
Well, you look around that restaurant, and anyone that you see in the hunting industry that has a YouTube channel that's just monstrous was there. Yeah. Everybody. I mean, it was. And then you go to the bar, and the people you didn't see there, they're there. When we went into the PBR bar the very first night that we went, or that I was there, some guys walked up and they were like, "Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, I can't believe you guys are here. And, start talking to them, and they're taking pictures with everybody. And then they look over and they're like, is that Lee and Drew from Seek One? I'm like, yeah. They were like, oh man, I wish I could meet them. I'm like, go walk over to them and talk to them.
Yeah.
People were like afraid to come and talk. It was really cool. They were standing, in the middle of a bunch of, hunting industry YouTube celebrities, if you want to call them that. And we're hanging out with everybody, and you turned it to me and looked at me, and you were like, hey, your drink's empty. And then you spiked it onto the ground. and you're like,
Allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah. Yeah, there were 14 cups on the ground at the end of the night.
There was straight just empty cups and ice everywhere. We started chugging beverages and smashing them out of each other's hands. This is the dark side of the ATA.
It's the dark side of the ATA, but what people don't see, they do see all those products, but what they don't see is the relationships and the interactions that we have with all these people. Well, yeah, I mean, we've made so many friends, and we get to hang out with all those people. And when you're in the show and you're working, you're still joking around with your friends, but it's like, all right, time to leave. And now that's when the real relationships, that's when the real action happens.
Absolutely. You let your hair down.
Yeah. Whip it back and forth.
Every single morning that I wake up at the ATA show, I tell myself the same thing. I'm not drinking tonight. I'm possibly never drinking again. And I'm going to bed early tonight. I'm not going out. And then inevitably I time travel and I look at my watch and it's 3:00 in the morning and I'm banging on a White Castle drive-through window to let me in. And the cycle repeats itself.
It repeats itself for 3 days in a row.
Yep. And now I feel like this.
I probably shouldn't name the names of the people who were involved in the strip club incident, but I will tell the story.
This was not us.
And
by the way.
I actually was not
we were
there.
Not at the jiggle.
I was invited, but I said no. I'm going home.
Thank God. I looked at you and you said yes. I think I'm going to go with these guys. They invited me to go to the strip club. And I was like, isn't that kind of far away? And you're like, yeah, it's like 30 miles into Indiana. We're in Louisville. And I looked at you and I said, Billy, if there's an ounce of sobriety in your head right now, do not go. This is the worst idea I've ever heard. You're going to end up a skin suit.
So Bo Martonic was with us.
Yeah.
And then the next morning I was like, hey, Bo, nice to meet you. He was like, dude, we were hanging out all night last night.
Hours.
So yeah.
He also was not a person that was involved in this incident.
No, he was not.
There was another company that we are not affiliated with. They were nice guys we were talking to. I've never met them before.
And another podcast.
Yes.
Who we're
who we know
with
very well.
Very well.
And they were with that company. They're sponsored by them. And they're the ones.
So they go to this jiggle joint.
Told us this story.
And they're sitting there and having a fine old time, and a fight breaks out. Shocker. Because it's
strip club history. First time this has ever happened.
A fight breaks out, and the folks in the company and one of the guys in the podcast got locked in the women's restroom, right? The security locked it down.
I think he's one of the owners of that company.
He is. He left his credit card at 4 different bars that night. So they get locked in, and the security just starts pepper spraying everyone else who's in the strip club. So one of their employees got pepper sprayed directly in the face, right? And he runs outside, and he's like just coughing and spitting and throwing up. So they all finally get kicked out.
Raven didn't miss a beat, though. She just allegedly kept dancing.
She was like, no more dollars. And they all get let out of the bathroom. And that one individual was out in the parking lot throwing up, dry heaving and gagging, and they left him, right? They thought that he was able to get away.
In Indiana.
So he pulls up his phone, and he couldn't figure out how to do Uber. He was in trouble. And he went and did navigation for walking, and he was like, an hour and a half? There's no way it's going to take me an hour and a half.
Walking like Quasimodo.
He said he was so cold, and it was like 18 degrees outside. And he was jogging part of the way to stay warm. He got back at 5:30 in the morning, and everyone else is like starting to get up an hour later. And he was like, I hate you guys. I hate all of you. I'm never working with you again.
You said you're my friend. You're not my friend.
They got back to the hotel and they were like, "Where's blank?" Oh no. Texting and he's like, it says it's going to be an hour and a half walk, and they were like, "Dude, get an Uber." He's like, "I can't really see my phone very well." He couldn't see it. All the pepper sprays in his eyes.
Oh
My
gosh.
gosh, that was like Friday night, and they still had the rest of the weekend.
Yeah,
to
that
go.
was day one, night one.
Yeah, it was Friday night.
The ATA show attendance was just miserable this year.
It was, man. I walked in and everyone was like, "Wow, man, it's so much better today than it was yesterday on Friday." And I'm like, "Whoa, it was dead."
When we first started going, like it was in Nashville one year, and I remember Nashville was my first year. I think it was like 2012 or 14 or something. But the first year I went, it was insane. Like if you were walking down an aisle and you stopped to look at a product, the person that was behind you would run into you. Like it was like Black Friday busy.
Yeah, and it was telling when you would have a celebrity like Michael Waddell's there. There would be a line like through the aisles, multiple people deep, and like a 45-minute wait to get a selfie with him.
Yep.
When Michael was there at the Primos booth, he had like 15 people around him.
Dude, he on the first day, we were at the Tethered booth. The Tethered booth is right next to some boot company I've never heard of. Mook. Mock.
Maki.
No, I'm just kidding. It was like Thurgood or something. It was, I think they're primarily a leather boot company,
Yeah,
and
they
they
are.
just started making hunting boots. I actually think they make
They
like
do make a
work
hell of
boot,
a
like
hell
a
of a
really
nice
nice
boot. Yeah,
leather
yeah, they
work
do.
boot, right? So they sponsor Waddell, and that booth was right next to the Tether booth. And Waddell came up and was at that booth for like 20 minutes before anybody even walked over to get a picture with him.
Yeah, and it wasn't like people didn't recognize him.
Yeah, no,
They
it was
already,
just,
it's
there
just
was
there
nobody
weren't
there.
there weren't as many people.
And so you had, it was a combination of things. The weather sucked. Like Friday, it snowed there, which is why your first flight originally got canceled. And then I feel like everybody in Louisville, which they pronounce Louisville because apparently they can't read or spell correctly.
It's like Balmer.
Exactly. They like just didn't attempt to pave the roads. The
You mean
roads,
plow?
yeah, that's what.
Well, yeah, it's all dirt roads there.
Thank you so much for listening. It means the world. Yeah, they did not plow the roads. There's no plowing. Story of our foreshadowing for our evening. I mean, it was just miserable. It is so I think a lot of people didn't go, but also all the bow companies pulled out.
Yeah, the big
PSE ended up going, but it was PSE and Bear were the only like
were the
big ones there, and like Obsession Archery and all this. Not knocking on them, but like
but
they're not a big.
they're
draw.
not the
Nobody
big, and
cares.
the big ones that you got to think when those big ones are there. When Matthews is there, they take up like 12 spots.
Oh, it's huge. They
It's
have like
enormous.
like an 80 by 80 or whatever.
It's huge. It's enormous,
yeah.
and they weren't even there. And you know the other thing that made it seem like there were fewer people is since there were fewer booths and fewer of those huge booths, the aisles were like double wide.
Yeah.
So when you've had those years where it's packed and
Yeah,
there's like
it's
yeah. You're side by side. So that was the actual event. It was down, across the board. It was still cool to see some of the cool products that came out. I mean, I think every year someone's coming out with
what did you
something
see that you were
innovative.
jacked about? What were your
The platform
outside of tethered stuff?
outside the tethered stuff.
By the way, that tethered elite saddle with the First Light is awesome.
Mhm.
And that was one of the first products that we were like we can't hide this in video. We're just going to put it out there.
I know, and people were just commenting all the time, like, "Ooh, is that a First Light pattern? Is that a?"
Well, what's funny is when we first designed the Phantom, we covered it in a First Light pattern to hide it because you couldn't see what it was in videos, and we just told people it's a custom saddle, and that was our way to test it. But then it looks so cool. We were like, man, we should make one of these, and so we partnered with First Light on that and push forward. And it's an awesome saddle, and it's a sick kit. It comes with 2 cis haulers. The haulers have special pockets, and that's cool. But I think that platform is just silly.
Well, yeah, it is. I mean, my biggest complaint with the platform is, and I actually go back and forth between the Predator and the XL because The XL is a little bigger and a little bulkier, and you know, but the weight of that carbon platform is, I mean, it's next to nothing.
Yeah, it's like sub 3 pounds.
And it doesn't make metallic noises, so I don't have to tape it all up. But yeah, it's under 3 pounds. It's sick. SpyPoint's new camera, they really improved on the issues that everyone has with their cameras.
I didn't see that. What did they do?
Yeah, so SpyPoint typically, you get a SpyPoint camera and you're like, sweet, it's going to be, and these are the cell cameras.
Yeah.
I'm ready to rock and roll with this thing. And the setup has been a pain in the ass. Formatting SD cards and updating firmware,
I saw it has like a format button,
which
a standalone button, right?
Yes. So you have to do that with pretty much all cameras right off the bat to do that. But with SpyPoints, if you had an issue and it stopped communicating with their app, the fix was to go to the camera, format the SD card, and then upload the new firmware. And it was, I mean, that's a pain in the ass. It defeats the purpose of having a cell camera, right?
You've put in a distinct remote location.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now the firmware updates are automatic. The
over the air.
Over the air.
Yeah.
The format button is on board. And
they have a dual carrier SIM card, right?
Yes, and I think that's the reason they did that, because the video and sound quality is fire.
Nice.
And I think you can get that off of the app as well. Most cell cameras, you're only getting pictures. You can get video on the camera, but you have to pull the SD card. I'm pretty sure you can get that through the app. So that was pretty innovative. I thought
that's really cool.
I was impressed with that. I mean, Jason with Timber Ninja. I mean, he's innovative, and that stand, that's a 6-pound lock-on stand. And I saw it, played with it and stuff like that. You look at it and you're like, well, I can see why it doesn't weigh very much. And then when you start to play with it, manipulate it, you're like, holy shit, this thing is like, it's stout for as thin as it looks. So I thought that was pretty innovative.
That's what I think when I look at Andy May.
Andy May is a stud. So my buddy Justin Sinan, excuse me, he came up. He was working and helping out at the Lone Wolf Custom Gear.
Oh yeah, I met him.
Yeah.
He's Josh's buddy.
Buddy, yeah. So he came up and he was like, "Holy shit, that's Andy May." I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Man, I'd like to go talk to him." I'm like, "Walk over and talk to him." Andy May is the nicest human being on the planet.
100%.
Unless you're a big buck, then he's the Grim Reaper.
So Andy was, I roomed with Andy. And Adrian was in our room, and Adrian, now has COVID. And I was texting Andy this morning. I was like, bro, how you feeling? He's like, I feel great. He's like, how do you feel? I was like, I feel like shit, like absolute shit. I feel like I'm breathing through a straw. I'm coughing up my lung butter. And he's like, he goes, did you take a COVID test? I said, yeah, I did. It came back negative. I can't believe it came back negative. And he's like, well, maybe we're just like genetic specimens, like joking around. And I was like, yeah, maybe one of us is, and the other one looks like Danny DeVito in Twins. And I sent him a screenshot of Arnold and Danny DeVito in Twins. And I'm like, clearly I'm Arnold and you're Danny.
Yeah, he's a stud, man.
He is. He's nicest guy on earth, but he is also just tall and shredded. And that's what I see in my head of myself.
But
that's why I hate photographs of positive.
So I was talking to Lee from Seek One, and we were having dinner before the Saturday night debauchery. Me, him, well, they already ate dinner, but we were having drinks. Me, him, Josh from the Untamed, and Bill Martonic, right?
And Bill from Seek One was there too, right?
He came a little bit later. You're right. Oh, that was. Whew, I don't want to talk about that top secret conversation.
That's like our core group of buddies from the show. Like and we're friends with them outside of that. Josh, sorry to hijack your conversation, just real briefly. Josh is one of my favorite people on earth. Not that and Bo and Lee and Drew and Bill are all like good friends of mine. Like we all have like a very funny running text thread, right? However, Josh from the Untamed, if you guys don't watch the Untamed or know who Josh is one of, if not my favorite person on earth.
He is
hilarious.
He's funny as hell. He's super authentic. If you watch the last video that they just put out of him shooting a beautiful split brow buck, he loses his mind when he shoots something. He's screaming and yelling. That's how he is in real life. Like he's not like obnoxious or anything, but he is just energetic, fun as hell, funny as shit. Like he's crack whip smart. Like
Yeah.
he's just fun to hang out with.
And he was hunting with Greg Godfrey from Tether.
Oh my gosh!
Did he
With
tell
the
you-
with oh, I saw the video. Did
So-
you see the video?
I did not see the video, but
Oh my
he
gosh.
blew his knee out.
Okay.
And his story of that encounter
Is one of the funniest things I've ever heard in my
I
life.
threw up, physically threw up. I was laughing so hard listening to this story.
Yeah, Greg wanted to get close to these wild boar.
It was a Russian boar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and these are Russian boar that are in West Virginia. They're
Like,
not like
Nasty
feral
some bitches.
pigs. Yeah, and they got up close to a sow and some chokes, and
Well, no, he said they popped him over the hill and they saw one and they were looking at it, and Greg made a and he goes, Greg, do you see him? He's like, I see the. He said, yeah, the one. I'm looking at the one that's bedded, but that other one looks kind of mad. And he goes, what other one?
yeah,
He didn't see like the other one that was standing up.
and he squealed at it like, and the boar came around this pine tree and charged. Right, so they both take off running, and Josh even said, he was like, I know that you're supposed to outrun the other guy. So he's like, I'm passing Greg. And all I hear Greg is say, oh, shit. And then Greg falls. So Josh stops to turn around to help Greg, and the boar starts chasing him. So he's hauling ass, and he tries to jump over this little dip. And he said the next thing he knows, his toes hit his chest. And he folded his knee in half. And he's laying on the ground like, I'm fucking dead. I'm fucking dead.
He said, man down. I'm down hard. Man down. Just screaming.
He said he popped up and he tried to stand up and couldn't. And he just sees the back end of the boar walking away. The boar was like, I didn't even have to touch him,
He
and I
said
killed him.
he pulled his knife out. He was
Yeah.
like, I'm going to make it hard for this son of a bitch.
Dude, he was telling me about the bear stories when, the hounds get fighting with bears and stuff. And like, if somebody wounds a bear in a tree, you have quote unquote safety guys at the bottom. And they've got 10mm Glocks to be safe. The stories he has are just unbelievable. But so I'm sitting with him and Lee and Bo. Bill may have been there or not, and we're talking about Andy May, and Andy May, and Lee asked, he said, why is Andy so successful? I said, discipline, persistence, and he's super smart. And Andy's telling a story about being in Nevada, hunting this world-class mule deer. So Andy's the type of guy who he goes and finds a buck and says, I'm going to kill that deer. And the next day, he kills that deer.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many. I've known Andy for like 5 or 6 years now. And I can't tell you, I can't even begin to count how many times he'll be like out scouting public land, find a big deer, and he hunts public land.
Mhm.
Like he's not going to big name outfitters and spending a ton of money. And he has very limited time as well. He hunted 12 days this year and has 4 like trophies, kill, like
Mhm.
giant trophies. But he'll be like scouting public land. He'll find a big animal. He'll be like, I found him. I figured it out. The next time I have like a western wind and the barometric pressure is at 30.23, like I'm gonna kill him. And then the next night at 4:30, he's like killed him, and there's like a picture of him with it.
Yeah.
Like without fail, like all the time. The guy is amazing.
Bow hunting dad, if you don't follow him
Yes,
on Instagram.
the man.
Yeah,
Absolute
he
freaking
totally
man.
is.
And he's so humble and so
Super.
nice. He's a great dude.
You would have no idea because he doesn't even say, when you meet friends you haven't seen in a while, they say, check out the buck that I shot this year.
Yeah,
He doesn't say that.
absolutely.
He doesn't. You have to say, Andy, can you show me the deer that you killed,
Yeah.
this year, a week ago?
He-
and he's like a 180.
We were at the bar, and it was Andy and I, and a guy came up and was talking to us, talking to me about urban hunting stuff, and was like taking pictures. And Andy went to go to the bathroom, and I made a comment about Andy May, and he was like, holy shit, that's Andy May?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, dude. Like, you just told him to get out of the picture. Like,
Yeah, you didn't want to take a picture with him.
He was
And
like,
Andy went, all right, yeah, no problem.
He goes, the guy was like, oh, can I get a picture with you? And like handed the phone to Andy. And I like just smirked at Andy, right? I'm like, this is retarded. Like, this guy shouldn't care about me at all, you know?
I know.
Crotch sniffer. But yeah, it was, I don't know, it was hilarious. And the without fail, every night at ATA is a just disaster.
Yeah, well, when we were in Indy 2 years ago, that was
Yeah.
it was too. Yeah. And you told that story about the guy getting stabbed over the hot dogs.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like something always happens. Always. I got locked out of my room this year in my underwear.
Oh, this is great. So
This is alleged.
yeah. So I'm rooming with Andy and Adrian, and Andy and I were sharing a bed. So when you got into town, you were like, "Hey, dude, I have an extra bed. I got a hotel room down here at the Galt House." I'm like, "Great, I'll just crash with you." So at the time, I thought this was a great idea. We left the bar at like 3-ish.
Ish.
Get back to the room, and I'm like dead. I just like fall right into the bed. I'm out. My alarm goes off at like 6:30, 6:45 to go to the tether booth because like I'm taking orders for all the retailers or whatever. And you're like half awake, and you go, "Dude, who is that chick I had to kick out of here last night?" And I was like, "What?" Because I was not like blacked out. I mean, I'd had a great night, but I didn't have any spots that I didn't remember. You know, normally you're like, you know, there's a spot in your memory where you're like, the last thing I remember doing is spiking your cups on the ground at the bar, and I don't remember getting back here. You know, I didn't have that, so I was like, "What are you talking about?" And you were like, "Bro, I had to chase a chick out of here, and I got locked out of the room in my boxers." I had to go down to the front desk and get them to like come let me in, but I didn't have my wallet.
I didn't have anything. They were like, "Who are you?" And I'm like, "I'm in this room." And
Yeah, they're like, "Sure you are." So I thought you were like dreaming, like having a vivid dream that
I
you
thought
thought
so,
was
yeah.
real. And I was like, "You're whatever, dude. You have it." I stand up and I go into the bathroom, and the bathroom has water everywhere on the floor. And I'm like, oh, is the toilet broken? Like, what happened in here? I realize I'm standing in pee, and it looks like it's the deck of the Titanic. Like there's water everywhere, and I'm like, oh, gross. So I like, I peed, and I like go out and wipe my feet off on the carpet, like right in front of the bathroom, and I'm like, I gotta go. I gotta take an Uber back to my hotel room to get my briefcase, like before I get into the show. So I'm like, all right, Billy, I'm out. I'll see you later. So then you came in to the show,
yeah,
a
like an
couple
hour
hours
later.
and and I was like, yeah, dude, like you idiot, you were telling me about chasing a girl, and you're like, no, dude, that was real.
Like,
I think that you,
I might have had a dream and then woke up from it, and
Yeah,
then
so I think
I thought someone was like trying to steal shit, or
I think you like went to take a leak and peed everywhere other than the toilet. just
it was the ghost girl.
Yeah,
she
so-
was in there doing it.
And then I guess you like, I don't know, maybe you were dreaming about something and you opened the door and then you got locked out of the hotel room.
Yes.
And
Yeah. I mean, that's my best guess.
yeah, because there was
That's
no chick in there. But
No.
I apologize. My wife can commiserate with you on this. When I'm asleep, I am out. Like
Oh,
I
yeah,
am,
because I was banging on the fucking door, and I'm like,
I am zero help
Yeah.
with children. Like once I'm asleep, I am out. And on top of that, we'd been at the bar and it was really loud in there. And so like my ear is still a little jacked up from like Rocky Mountain Spy Fever. And so it's fine generally. But if I'm in like a really loud spot, my left ear, all I hear is like ringing out of it. And so I sleep on my right side. So like when I have my head in the pillow and I'm
it's
blacked out, it's just for white noise, I'm worthless. So you banging on the door,
nothing. Was not going to help.
No.
And look, I didn't bang that long because I realized
do you ever?
no.
Be there. I can't judge. I spend more time apologizing and crying than I do.
But Josh had from the Untamed. Josh had a great idea because my flight was at 8:00 in the morning on Sunday morning, and he said, "Man, what I do," and that's how he talks. I love that guy. He's like, "Man, what I do is when I know I'm going to tie one on at night, I'll just pack my stuff up before I go to the bar, and when I come back to the room, I grab my shit and I go straight to the hotel to the airport." He's like, "I'll sit there for 5 or 6 hours." I was like, That's a great idea. So I did that. I get to the airport. I had another flight canceled. I was like, son of a bitch.
Didn't you like forget your wallet also?
Oh, yeah, that's right. I left my wallet. And so I had to go back. And I was like, sweet, I'm still going to make my flight. I was actually early enough. No, they canceled it. And they put me on another flight a couple hours later. And I had a connector in Charlotte. I get there and we landed. I walk out. The flight back to DC already left. I was like, awesome.
Oh,
So I had to get another flight. Dude, I didn't get home until 7:30 p.m. Sunday. My wife was like, you were supposed to fly out in the morning. I'm like, shocker. Something happened that made you mad that I did.
I also love the fact that you were supposed to be home like many, many, many hours before, and she didn't know because you hadn't communicated with her. My flight was miserable on the way back. I had the same connection into Charlotte.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, and I had a thing pop up on the American Airlines app that said, "Hey, we'll give you $450 credit if you change your flight."
Mhm.
And I was like, "Okay, I like money." So I said, "Accept." And it says, "Pick your other flight." And there was a flight. So my flight was supposed to leave Lowville, at like, I don't know, 6 o'clock. Land in Charlotte. There was like a 20-minute layover. I don't know why they schedule these layovers. They're never
Yeah, you never.
obtainable. But there was a layover, and then hop on that flight and fly to home, DCA. There was a direct flight from Louisville to DCA that got me in like a half hour earlier. And I'm like, sweet, you'll pay me $450 and I can get on the earlier home flight, because I was dead to the world. I had gotten 2 hours of sleep the night before. I just was
Did
crashing.
you have any alcohol when you got to the airport?
No.
Oh, good for you.
If I did, I would have died. I actually was very disappointed. I couldn't decide if I wanted chicken fingers or a hamburger. Ernie and I went to Chili's, and the lady next to me had this hamburger, and it came out, and it was like this big. And I was like, I'm smashing that. That's what I want. I ordered the exact thing she had, and I got a slider. Like, to the point where I'm like, what? Whatever. Clearly, I'm a fat guy because I was like thinking about my food. And it's memorable. Damn it! I was gonna binge. So I go up to the counter, the ticket counter lady, and I'm like, "Hey, the app said that I could, get paid. I guess this flight's full or whatever. Like, you don't even have to pay me if you can just switch me to that other flight." And the lady's like, "We can't do that." And I was like, "Well, it said that it was overbooked. I'm just trying to help out, like make it easier for you." She's like, "No, we can't do that. The only thing we could do is like reschedule your flight, but you'd have to pay a fee."
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, "Well, how much is the fee?" You're blowing up over here. There's
I
probably
know.
like a fire at work.
Yeah, that's all right.
They'll figure it out.
Well, the day's about to end, so.
I'm like, "Well, how much is the fee?" And she's like, I feel like half the time they're fucking faking anyways, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, "It's $475." I was like, "What?" I was like, "No, okay, never mind." Like how can you go from offering me $450 to now trying
bait
to
and switcheroo.
take $475? I was like, oh, whatever. And I was pretty sure I was going to miss my flight back. But the flight to Charlotte was like the ATA show 3.0. It was like everybody that we had seen at the show and whatever. And there was one guy who had been coming around the tethered booth, like talking about sponsorships and stuff. And all I wanted to do was watch a movie and like just like have some quiet time.
On the plane.
He was sitting right next to me. And he was like, "Hey, what do you think about this? What about that?" I was like, "Honestly, bro,
I want to die right now.
I want to.
I'm going to give you bad advice.
I'm considering opening the emergency exit and jumping out of this fucking thing. Like, I don't want to talk to you."
But yeah, like when I sat down because my flight was canceled,
Right.
pushed back, so I'm like, well, better get something to eat. So I sat down at a bar, shocker.
Which ones you go to? They're only like four. In
I
the
don't.
entire
No clue.
Yeah.
Don't know. But Kendall from Seek One rolls in and he looks at me. He's like, "What's up?" I'm like, "Oh my god, here we go again."
He's
So
a really good dude too.
He's super cool, man. He's super good guy. But yeah, we bullshitted for a little while and then I had to roll. But when I got on the plane, I have no idea who sat next to me because I went to sleep.
So you're talking about
recovered.
how Josh from the Untamed said, like, you pack your bags and go to the airport.
Yes.
So when I was in college, I went down to spring break with Nick, old Pegasus,
Pegasus.
with Peggy Sue, and our buddy Pat, and somehow our flight back, the only flight we had was at like, it was a red eye flight to DC. It was like 5 a.m. And so we have the great idea of like, oh well, let's just go drink all night long, and then we'll just go right to the airport, right? Awesome. Packed our bags. My last memory is being at a bar called Howl at the Moon, which is a dueling piano bar, and they sell buckets of whatever drink that's designed for the table, and there's like a fifth that floats in it as the floater. Well, we're broke college kids, so we each got one. They're like $17, and that's like all you need for the whole night. And my
it's good for 20 people. But
yeah, it's like for a party table. My last memory was I had finished my drink, and I had the bucket on my head, and I was on stage going, "Play my bucket," and people were playing my bucket like a bongo. So that was my last memory. I woke up. I'm on the airplane, and I'm on a stranger's shoulder.
drooling.
And I'm like, drool is just pouring out. And she's like picking my head up with a finger like I'm Lurch. Right? And I was like, I'm so sorry. And my head hurt like hell. My entire head was a scab from where that bucket was, where people playing on it like a bongo. And I look over at Nick, and Nick's like, I fucking hate you. And I was like, why? What are you talking about? He's like, you blacked out last night, and I had to carry you from the, like, we had to take this is back when we had cabs, like not Uber. We had to take a cab back to my parents' house in Lauderdale, get all of our stuff. He said that they just left me in the cab so the guy wouldn't drive away. Then they got our stuff. They took me to the airport. They had to tell the guy at the airport that I was handicapped.
Like, he believed them.
Mentally, I technically was, I still am. And they had to wheel me to the gate. He's like, we were partying until you went over the edge, and we had to babysit you. Like, no, sorry, I'm not sorry. Not the first or last time that's happened.
Yeah, hopefully it's the last. Yeah, but the dark side of the ATA is really, more than anything, it's the best part. It's where we build the relationships with our friends. We get to hang out with them and see them again. And I mean, the rumors going around that ATA may be no mas are sad.
I don't see how ATA continues to exist. I mean, maybe it will. Maybe I'm wrong. Like, who knows?
I mean, the organization as a whole is good. They've helped legally with legal battles for bow hunters. They've
helped us out like 100% directly.
Yes, directly helped us out. I mean, they get brand new manufacturers. They help them get on board and help them get into the industry. They are supportive. The show, on the other hand, I don't know.
I just don't know how necessary it is anymore. Like, I think that when bow manufacturers stopped announcing new bows at ATA, like it kind of just was the beginning of the end. Like, there's not a lot of brand new product that's being launched at the ATA. I mean, maybe the time of it's bad. Like, make it in like July.
It's too expensive for these huge manufacturers, and
it's too expensive for any manufacturer.
Yeah, and we were talking to one big bow manufacturer, and they said, "Look, we sold more bows last year and didn't have an ATA show, so why spend a couple $100,000 for the ATA show when we don't have to?"
Yeah, and your multiplier, like your cost multiplier, is insane, right? Because it's not just the booth space. You got to have 25 people there manning the booth, even if they're employees. If you're a giant bow company, you got to pay for hotel rooms, food. You have the liability of all 25 of those people going out and doing what we do at night.
Airfare, travel.
Exactly.
Just shipping in all of your junk for the booths.
And all of that stuff, like when you get to the expo center, like the union unpacks it. You're paying union prices. The coffee that came over to the tethered booth was $100 for the little cardboard thing that you get from
I did like
Einstein
that giant
bars.
vat of queso.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
like a 5-gallon bucket of queso with like
Disgusting.
with a bunch of like crushed
It's
chips.
like prison food.
I looked at it. I was like, oh,
Well,
God.
then we ordered pizza one day, which is like technically not supposed to happen. We like smuggled in the pizza.
Oh, tell
And
them about the cheeseburger pizza that
yeah,
you were just
so
ready to eat.
so I'm like I'm not feeling good. I hadn't eaten much. I hate
that was the COVID,
yeah,
right?
for sure.
Right.
And just for a little like backstory, I hate condiments. I absolutely hate ketchup, mustard, mayonnaise. Ugh, like fuck that. I despise it. And so all of the sandwiches that had been coming were like it was like egg salad, pimento cheese, and tuna salad. And I'm like, well, I'm out. Right? Like I'm not eating that. So we ordered pizza. I'm like, thank God. Right? And we had like 8 pizzas there. I pop open a box, I grab a slice. I'm like, oh, cheeseburger pizza. Like I love cheeseburger pizza. I took a bite. It was covered in ketchup and mustard as a base. And I was like, oh God. Oh God. Why is this happening to me? At least I could taste it. Adrian took a bite and he goes, I can't taste any of this.
I
And I
can't
was
taste
like,
any of this pizza. We were like,
awesome.
what?
Yeah.
Are you for real, dude?
And famous last words. But when I first rolled in, we were talking about COVID, and like I was saying, I couldn't believe that we were having the show, all this. And he's like, hey man, I'm fine. Like he goes, my tongue was down Becca's throat, which is his girlfriend, on New Year's Eve. She tests positive the next day. I'm fine. Fast forward to 2 days ago, he's like, I feel terrible. I got
I can't
COVID.
taste shit.
I can't taste this pizza. I'm too drunk to taste this chicken. What were some other products that you saw at the show that you liked? Because I didn't get to go check out a bunch of cool stuff. I did get to leave the booth like twice for a couple meetings, but I did see Stan, the release company. They've like gone in a whole new direction with some of their releases, and there were a couple there that I thought were awesome. They have like a hinge, a tension activated release, and then like a regular thumb.
And that hinge, I think Scott from Outdoor Life he kind of was saying that was one of his favorite hinges, but he said that the pivot point was closer to the index finger. Was that right?
I didn't get to see it. I was talking to our buddy Justin from bowhunting.com,
Mm-hmm.
and he was like, I love this thing. It's super cool. So I'm going to reach out to Stan and see if we can get some, because I I love the idea of hunting with a hinge. I love shooting a hinge. My problem with a hinge is no hinge on the market has like a clip that allows me to clip it on my bow
And just leave it.
and leave it. And
No, actually, you need to rephrase. Now you don't like hunting with a hinge. You like shooting with one.
I like shooting with one. There were about 7 deer in a row that I shot in the pooper this year using a hinge.
Mm-hmm.
That were not. That's not where I was aiming. There were
High guts, love it.
yeah, there were a multitude of shots that when it broke, I was like, "Oh my God, please die, please die!" I actually was just editing one of the videos from that hunt where this deer comes in. She's like perfect, and that shot breaks, and it hit this far. For anybody listening, it's probably
Oh, that's a good
24
40
inches. Yeah, I mean, and I was like, "What in the f?" Like what's going on? And she like hunched up and walked forward, and there were like 10 other does with her, and I was like, get lucky. No. Now thank God she did end up spinning around, walked straight down, and that property is tiny,
Mm-hmm.
and she died in the bottom, thank God. But I mean, that's not good.
Yeah, we talked about that too. And the first time I shot the hinge, you were like, "Hey," handed me a brand new bow. Okay. We had not sighted it in at all. I mean,
That's when we were doing the COVID pantry challenge.
Yes. We slapped a sight on it, and I shot it 33 yards. Like very first time, I was like, "Oh, okay,
Yeah.
we're
You're
good."
like, I love this thing.
I liked shooting it.
Yeah.
I did. That's the first time, even with back tension releases that I've shot before and thumb releases, that was the most surprise shot I've ever had.
Well, and like we've talked about this, and I actually talked about this a ton with Andy recently, but it's like you can shoot anything with back tension.
Yeah.
You just have to get through that target panic hurdle, and know that you have to trust that your brain is capable of firing it subconsciously. Like I know where I want the arrow to hit, and the pin can float around there, and just it's gonna go off. And if you don't fuck with it, it's gonna hit the bullseye.
Yeah.
but it takes a lot to get to that point because you
Mhm.
try to hold the pin steady, and that's when you start to punch a trigger because you can't hold it steady, and then inevitably it's going to dance off. So when it comes back, you try to hammer it, and that's when you like do a pass by shot, and it's no good.
Hit and hope. Did you see Dudley posted a like it was like a
His shot
tracking
tracer,
his shot
yeah.
tracer? Yeah, that was fire, and it's color coded.
Yes.
And then I looked at it. I was like, oh, that'd be really cool to have. But mine would look like a Jackson Pollock painting. His was like dialed in, and it's like, zzz, and
Yeah,
you could just see he
Yours
goes
would
into
look
combat.
like the bathroom floor of the hotel room. Just, you hit everywhere but the toilet.
Yeah.
It's like everywhere but the X. I feel like at one point you were laying on your back, just peeing
Straight up. And you know, I woke up, and afterwards I was thinking, after you said, "Oh, Bill, you must have peed on the floor," I'm like, that very well could have been you, also.
Maybe it was the lady.
maybe it just looked like a lady.
It very well could have been me.
I have no idea, no clue.
Maybe I was
You-
the lady that you chased out of
Oh
the
my
room.
gosh, you could have been flopping around, dancing in your sheet. Oh God, yeah, no, it was a great time though. But we'll see what happens next year. How are we going to get together with everybody like that though?
I have an idea.
Good,
I'm going to tell you offline.
good.
It's an OnlyFans get together.
We'll
One
have a little
thing
banquet.
we're going to start doing with the podcast, by the way, for all 7 of you that are still listening, is if you can start submitting questions that you want answered, we're going to bring them up at either the end of shows, or if there are enough of them, we'll do a separate, just like a short show. This is all Q&A.
Yeah, because that Q&A podcast that we had was one of people's favorites.
Yeah, and like, look, we try to be as open as possible, and we try to respond to everybody that reaches out to us. But sometimes we are inundated with stuff, or we're busy like getting yelled at by our wives or hunting. So, if you have any questions that you want answered, let us know. One of the things that we posted about recently that got absolutely slammed was a question about rubber boots versus leather boots.
Mhm.
And I thought it was interesting. I've always worn rubber boots up until last year. When I went to Ohio the first time, I was trying to walk those hills in rubber boots. I was like, no,
Mhm.
this is not okay. And I got 2 pairs of good boots. I got a pair of the Crispy Thors, which you had recommended. And then I got a pair of the Kenetrek. It's a sheep hunting boot, technically. But I just got it because it has like 1,000 grams or maybe 1,200 grams of thin slit as my like winter boot. Best thing I've ever done in my life was, one, learn how to tie a boot like you showed me.
With the speed laces.
The speed light, killer awesome. So instead of like lacing them
and
up
tying every
and
single
tying
time.
it, you just tie like a big gnarly knot at the top, and you just go womp 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 womp, and just crap.
And you have
walk
to
it
say
up.
it like that. Womp, 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 womp.
Every time I had, I'm like womp womp. What's up, shawty? Get it, girl.
It's your birthday.
You nasty. Tie that boot. You nasty.
Oh. Face down, ass up. That's the way I tie my boots.
That's the way I sleep. Open invitation. That's how Nick sleeps.
Pegasus, shout out.
Peggy Sue. One day he's gonna listen to these and be like, "You motherfuckers! You have 300 episodes, all referencing me getting pegged." How'd you know? Because we were roommates for 9 years in college.
Oh
Nick.
gosh.
Neither of us got a doctorate. But that and the fact that those boots have a lot of ankle support and that metal shank in there,
Mhm.
I think are even without a metal shank, just the fact that it's got like a harder, more firmer sole is so important for saddle hunting.
Yeah, in a platform, you
Yeah,
know.
for when, because like I like to get my feet out on the edge of the
Mhm.
platform when I'm leaning back, or even if I got 1 foot on the edge and like 1 foot kind of like up on the platform post.
Rubber boots suck.
Yeah, dude, they're too soft. They're pliable, and they have to make them soft by nature of making them,
Mhm.
right? Like you can't have a sole that's like welded to a hard, crusty top, because then it's just a crusty, loud boot, right? So, I mean, I just I enjoyed engaging with people on that conversation, but the leather boots are we go, and they're so much warmer. You know, it's funny because being a guy who always wore rubber boots, I was very conditioned to be like, oh, I need like 2,000 grams of Thinsulate because my reference point is, okay, well, I've had 1,200, 1,600, 2,000 gram boots, and they've all gotten cold at some point.
Because
Right.
they weren't breathable and your feet were sweating.
Exactly.
And I went the route when I was using rubber boots. I would actually use antiperspirant, spray antiperspirant on my feet, and it helps a lot. But I don't like that feel. I don't like the feeling of spraying your feet. You know, it's like chalky or something. You know, I just didn't like the feel, and it actually increased hot spots. I never got like actual blisters, but I got hot spots from it. I ditched rubber boots completely, and I've been hunting in leather boots, or synthetic, ever since. It's been a couple of years now.
One thing I really like doing now is I'll wear those crispy Thors.
Yeah, I have the Colorados,
and the Thors are like very breathable. They're technically a lightweight or a light, I guess a boot to wear in high heat. Like they're very breathable. I'll wear those in with a thin sock and then put on like a boot blanket, like the Arctic Shield booty. Get that booty in the stand, and that is awesome because then your feet. It's the same concept of like not wearing your jacket on the hike in until you're on stand. Is like you're not sweating because I think a lot of the time what happens, especially in those rubber boots, to where I thought like, oh, my foot's getting cold in 2,000 gram Thinsulate. Well, no, it's your body's doing what it's trying to do. Where on the walk in, it's hot, you're sweating, your feet sweat just like anything else. Now you have that moisture on the foot.
and
it's there to cool your skin down. The second that it's cooling, you're smoked. And you can't generate heat inside your foot, so you're effed. Whereas, you know, if you just hike in with that booty and then or the shoe and then put the booty on, it's killer.
Yeah, I've been, you know, a liner sock and then merino wool, you know, and unless it's as cold as it is today, it's like 18 degrees outside. But when it's that cold or colder, I wear insulated. But I mean, down to like 30 degrees, I wear uninsulated, you know, my crispy Colorados, they're uninsulated.
Yeah.
And I don't have any issues now. Now, if I was wearing 1,200 gram rubber boots in 30-degree weather, I'd probably have cold feet.
Yeah.
That actually reminds me. That's another thing that the tethered carbon platform is going to help with.
Yeah, very, very much so.
It doesn't have the thermal wicking properties of metal.
Yeah.
You know, that you stand on. So I'm really excited, really excited to start hunting with one.
Any other cool products that you wanted to mention from ATA, from the ATA?
No, I mean the ones
Vodka.
that I brought up. No, Tito's.
Shout out Tito's. Tito's. We're still looking for a title sponsor. So.
No, but those were the top ones that I saw. Now, I didn't see every booth. Also, you know, like I said, when we started, I was only there in the actual show for one day.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to see every single thing. And plus, you know, talking to people and networking and you know, it's like next thing you know, you're talking to somebody and they're like, let's go have lunch. So you go and have lunch and you're not looking at products at those points. And then while you're eating lunch, you see someone else and they're like, I've got to tell you a story. So you go down a rabbit hole of the people that are there. But, you know, really the relationships are what drive the businesses.
Well, and that's how we're driven anyway. Is like we care more about the relationships. I mean, we care about the gear and products.
Yeah,
as well.
I absolutely love the gear and the products, but you know, the relationships are what drive that show.
Yep.
So
well, leave us your questions that you guys have, and we have some exciting new content coming out. We have a lot of new bows coming in from every manufacturer out there. We got some Bowtechs, some PSEs, some Hoyts. We got the Matthews Zizzes already.
Yep, you're gonna be doing some actual shooting testing, and I'll be doing all the durability testing.
Yes, you will. We're actually gonna have the dry fire test on them.
Yeah.
That'll be the last test. We'll see how many dry fires we can do. You're gonna be the one actually shooting them, though.
Thank you so much. My face shield's coming out, the same one I use when I talk to Adrian, so I don't get COVID from him.
Again. I had my tongue down her throat and I haven't got COVID. I'm too drunk to taste this pizza. Which is probably good because any psychopath that puts ketchup and mustard on a pizza,
man.
like that was the most. And Most disgusting thing I've ever had. And we used to get like bacon cheeseburger pizza
Sure,
as a kid. It's awesome. It's bacon, beef on top of pizza.
yeah, but you would expect it to have like a red sauce, not
'Cause
ketchup as a red sauce.
Pizza. Yes. That's
Yeah.
absolutely
It's a pizza.
disgusting.
Pizza.
Chris ate all of it though, so that's good. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. Anything else to add?
No, man.
All right. We'll see you guys soon. Thanks for listening.
See ya.